I'm Johan from AWA. There was a lot of interest in this session, and it's good to see a lot of familiar names in the audiences and on the guest list. Welcome. It's like a big community huddle, like a hug, the kind of thing that Shawn and I like. So thanks for that. I doubt if Shawn needs much of an introduction, and I'll let Shawn do the introduction, but I will say this. He is the specialist, the expert when it comes to automating systems, specifically within a CRO and experimentation context. There is nobody on the planet that knows as much about that area as Shawn does. So I hope you're following him on LinkedIn. If you haven't yet, that's another must. Lots of really good content. And Shawn, how many cats have you got? We've got
10.
Fiona today, but you've got what, 10?
Yeah, 10 total. And I was gonna post this today on LinkedIn, but I wanted to wait. We actually just purchased a chicken coop yesterday, so we'll have 4 to 6 chickens, depending on how much my wife will let me get in short order.
So that's 10 cats. Is it 4 dogs?
No, 2 dogs, 10 cats, 2 dogs. I'll have 4 chickens. I have 14 fish, so some of my fish are back there. Yeah, we're out here. We're an animal loving family here at the David household. We no kids, but you'll plenty of love to go around.
Craig, welcome. Craig and Nick Bell, thanks for joining us. Shawn, take it away.
All right. Can I share the screen? Great, guys. So if you don't know me, my name is Shawn David. I'm founder, lead instructor of Automate to Win. We are a automation workflow certification company. Basically, what we want to do is help you get rid of busy work in your life. So if you ever go into your job and you say, hey, I don't really want to do this, I need to do it, but I don't want to, well, I can help you with that. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how using workflow and automation and AI in your CRO endeavors will just make your life better. So why do you want to listen to me? Who am I? I have a BS in computer science and systems engineering, the MBA in organizational leadership. I have a bunch of certifications after my name. It doesn't really matter. I've built a lot of dope stuff for some heavy hitters out there. So if you've used these systems, or if you've run into like an Airtable experimentation system, I probably had my hands into it somehow. Don't let me take credit for things. Things are built through me, not by me. So don't take too much away from it. But I did have my hand in a lot of this stuff, right? So if you are interested in learning how to build, come on over to Automate to Win. If you just want to learn how to use this stuff, this is for you. All right. So who am I? Again, Shawn David, Sammy. Then you have Oliver, Madeline, Chicky, Betty, Victoria, Phoebe. And then Victoria, here we go. Fiona, who is the star of the stuff this year. Okay. So what are we going to do today? We're going to go over quick terms. We're going to make sure we're talking about the same thing. I have a huge issue about dictionary. If we're not talking about the same thing, if I'm saying widget and you're hearing doodad, if I'm selling apples and you're buying oranges, just sucks. Nobody wants that. We're going to introduce you to AI, what that is, why you care about it, what you're going to do with it. We're going to talk about automation, what that is, how relevant to you. We're going to talk about AI automation and then CRO. So I'm going to go through, define a couple of things. We're going to go through some top level, high level stuff, not too geeky. And then we're going to go over how you can use it. We're going to go over real world, what actually happens when you start doing this stuff. And then we're going to talk about what's kind of the problems here. All right, it's not all lollipops and rainbows at the end of the day. You're going to have some issues when you run into this. I'm going to go over, what we went over, tell you how to get in contact with me, and then you get something free at the end that I built for you. All right. So what are we talking about? First things first, CRO. Now, everyone's going to have a different opinion.
Yes, Shawn, sorry to break in.
Sure.
I think Fiona's tail is touching the mic again.
Is it? We good? Are we better? Good? Okay. Stupid cat. Sorry. So, CRO, conversion rate optimization, right? Spelled with a Z, spelled with an S, whatever you want to do. What is it? Basically, you're improving the percentage of visitors to a website do something. So whatever that is, you label it, you get something, they do it, great. All right. Not that complicated. Now, within the CRO, you're going to have certain layers of things that you do. Each one of these are going to have a tool. Each one of these are going to be able to be separated, and you're going to be able to see how they all interact with each other. And if you don't know what you have from these layers, if you don't know what tool you use on these layers, that's step 0 in all of this. Okay. So data layer, simple. Where does it live? Airtable, Notion, Google Sheets. You've written down on a napkin somewhere, in your COO's head, in your CTO's head, whatever, right? That's your data layer. Presentation layer. This is the one that most people spend the most time on, and is, my opinion, the least important. It's baseboard. It only matters if it's not there. Yes, it has to be pretty. Don't take it twisted that I don't appreciate what it is, but you build a dope template, and then that's all you need. So you don't have to worry so much about what image fits in this presentation, and what you know what data is sent within what slide. The people at the end of this presentation, I've talked to them. They don't care, right? They only care about what is the output of this data you're sending to them. So the presentation layer, honestly, is just a mirror of your ego. And the more time you spend on it, it's just, okay, look at what I did. It's shiny object. They're just saying, here you go. Like, here's a pretty thing that I did that proves that I did whatever it is I said I was going to do for you. And instead of focusing on the data and what they can do with it and like make more money and do more things, you're just, here's the presentation and it's great. It feels good in the moment, but you're just doing nothing. It's a busy work. Okay. What you can do from that is automate all those away. You can get to a point where you build a presentation template and then you never have to worry about it ever again. All right. And then you get the task layer, and this is probably the messiest. If you're gonna, in CRO agencies, this is gonna be the bane of people's existence. These softwares, they exist to annoy you. Like, they're there by design to make your life a little bit worse, but overall, everyone's life better. Okay. So if you look at this from like I'm the main character and like my life can't be inconvenienced because I don't feel like clicking buttons. Okay, fair enough. But if you look at it from, all right, if I look at this like I am in a marathon, or I am in like a baton race and I'm like number 2 or number 3 in the baton, and what everything that I do is dependent upon what somebody else did and what somebody else is going to do, then you look at it and you say, well, yeah, it probably is better for me to take the 2 or 3 minutes to go through and click the thing that sucks. Because the guy after me, the guy before me, is now going to be able to behave better. Extrapolate that out across everything. You just have a better culture, right? So, yeah, if you look at it and you say, I don't want somebody sitting here and telling me I got to click this button and report what I have to do that I did it. Yeah, I get it. Flip it a little bit and look at it how this helps the entire team, and you understand why the task layer really is one of the most important, because this also gives you the receipts, and we'll get into that. All right. And then your comms layer, this, whatever it is Zoom, Slack, Google, email, whatever, wherever you talk. All right. Simple. Now you're going to get into like what you actually do. Okay. So problem statement, what is that? It's an observational and repeatable issue. Okay. Simple as that. You see something and you can repeat it. If you can't repeat it, then it's probably a bug. I don't think it's a problem. You have to differentiate that, because if you start testing into things that you can't repeat, why? And then the hypo. This is a critical thing. Hypo building is one of the weakest elements that I've seen across a lot of CROs. Is they don't understand what a hypothesis is. Like, they don't even understand like what you're supposed to be doing with it, and they enter into it thinking that they're trying to prove something. In reality, you're trying to do your best to disprove it. So if you're going to look at this through the scientific theory, like, you're going to look and say, okay, my hypo is, if I do something, this will happen. So what you're going to do is control all other variables to make sure that you are 100% as close as possible sure that whatever it is that you're doing is the actual affected outcome of what you're measuring. Okay. So if you go into a hypo and you just say, if I change the price, I'll get more conversions, like, yeah, sure, but that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You have to be able to go into it and have a measurable effect. And you have to be able to say, this is something that happened. This is the reason why. This is how I measured it. And this is the outcome I expect. And this is what I'm doing to prove that my outcome, that my expected outcome is false. Not, I expect 2 + 2 = 4, so let me prove that. You're pre-biasing as soon as you go into that, okay? So you have to say, I believe 2 + 2 is 4. Let me go into this and make sure I can do absolutely everything I can to disprove that. Let me hit this with absolutely everything I possibly can to see if 2 and 2 is 4. If it is at the end of the day, cool. You have a good hypo that you can then test against because it's repeatable against a problem statement. All right. So what is a hypo? What does it include? It's an if-then clause, which includes a problem, a potential solution, and a means to verify that said solution. You don't have to agree with any of these definitions, but for the next 35, 40 minutes, this is what we're talking about. Okay. Now, experiment. This is a contentious one because the CRO people like to say that they run experiments, but you don't because you can't control all variables. So sure, it's scientific marketing. And what you're doing is you're using scientific principles to try to control the variables that you're running forward. Now, the problem is you're on the internet and you're dealing with humans, so you don't control anything. And to have I think it's a little bit of a hubris to think that you can actually control what these people are doing. So it's more of a observe and report and say, hey, I think this is why these people are doing this. Let's test into it. And then proving that your users are doing something in a certain way. So yeah, fine. It's an experiment. It's an A/B test, right? So that's what we're going to call it. But at the end of the day, to say like this is a controlled experiment with a controlled outcome, I mean, let's call it spade a spade, right? No. Now, AI. What is AI? It's basically just a computer. It's a set of instructions from the most basic level of instructions to the most complex that you could ever imagine. It just emulates a human's brain as best as a computer can. Okay. So everything from creating images to data analysis to anything that you can imagine that a human can do, pattern recognition, contextual detail, all of that stuff. If you can build an instruction for a mechanism of an output, that's AI. Now, there's 3 different types. Okay. You have a narrow AI, which is what we have right now. We have Siri, Netflix, Amazon, all these algorithms, Google, Pornhub, all of them. That's narrow. They can do something better than a human ever could. Extrapolate that out, Wolfram Alpha, any algorithm, GPT, all this stuff, right? That's a narrow AI. They can do a specific instructions better. And then you jump into a general AI, which is I think what people want GPT to be. So general AI is, if you think about Marvels, like Jarvis. So no matter what it is, for instance, let's say narrow AI, it's the best novel writer. It creates the best novels you could ever imagine. It builds absolutely the best novel, and it's a 10 out of 10 every single time, right? If you ask it to bake a cake, it can't. It just does. It has absolutely no idea. Even if it's written a novel, a 10 out of 10 novel about the best baker with all the recipes, can't do it. General AI now what it can do is it can stack on itself, and it has recursive ability to then learn. Okay, I've written about writing cakes. I've written about being a baker. I can now extrapolate that out, apply it to myself, create an agent that is a baker, and then if it had real world ability to interact with the world, create this. So that's what Jarvis is. He can, he's inside Iron Man's head or his helmet, right? And he can do everything from plot a parabolic missile to, complex algorithms to anything, create nanites, right? And then you have the third layer, which is the super AI, which is what everyone is worried about right now, which is what the singularity is. So basically, if you've ever seen the movie Deus Machina, Terminator, any of these movies, that's super AI. That's something that we don't even understand yet, but everyone's afraid of because it's basically like the end of humans. It's just stacked GAIs that will understand probably interdimensional travel and light speed travel and stuff like that. So that's the progression of species, and that's why everyone signed this, AI. Everyone calm down, AIs. Okay. We're far away from that right now. So we're in narrow AI. We can stack LLMs on top of each other to kind of replicate a general AI. Not so much. That leap of the narrow to general is probably within 5 years. And then that's probably where we're going to stop. Probably won't, unless somebody's stupid at dark and turns it on, but whatever. So just know 3 levels of AI. We are currently have narrow. That's what we're using. GPT, all the stuff we're talking about, narrow AI. General AI, probably coming, probably we're going to stop. Super AI, we're in trouble. Okay. So automation, what does that mean? Now automation is using that AI to actually do something. So we're using these narrow AIs in this certain instance to do something. So if it's whatever, think about everything that you do as a task in your business, you can use AI to automate some of that. It's just using tools, machines, software, algorithms, whatever it is, to actually use that replication of a human brain to do something. So in CRO, what would you have? All right. So off the top of my head, test creation, audience segmentation, data collection, real time and statistical analysis, test scheduling, result reporting, heat maps, click tracking, personalization, implementing changes directly into the website, documentation creation, analysis presentation, pre-test presentation. Okay. So basically, if you look at this list here, busy work, right? It's stuff you don't want to do. Like, I don't want to create a segmentation. I don't want to have to go through 100,000 records and do lookalikes. Who wants to do that? I don't want to have to go through and watch 150 videos and get the tone and get the number of times somebody used a certain keyword. Like, using user testing like that to try to find problems is so boring. And it's something that you just send somebody to do because you know it has to get done. But really, set an AI agent on it, get the transcription back from it, use natural language processing to understand the tone, the language, everything from it. And then you stick somebody on it that actually understands, and they can look at what the actual algorithms give to them instead of the raw data. Like, if you're still analyzing raw data in 2023 with the ability of LLMs, like, get on board, man. You're missing like everything. If you're still using manual, like just humans to analyze raw data before, like, to give you patterns, they're not going to be able to do it better than an AI is, hands down, period. And B, that's boring, monotonous rote work that's not data analysis. If you have people copying and pasting, like, come on, you don't need to do that. Like, learn how to automate this, and just have one person in your company learn how to do this, and everything will change, and you'll see the difference immediately. So any of these things that you're doing, like if you're doing this stuff, if you're doing result reporting right out of GA4 even, and you have to manually build reports on Looker Studio, you're doing it wrong. You don't need to. Like, it's 2023. So what does this mean? Okay, again, CRO, AI, automation, get rid of busy work. At the end of the day, do the things that you want to do that allow you to strategize and think and actually move into what your clients are paying you to do, instead of just busy work, moving stuff around and not having receipts. So when I say that, I'm going to take a little tangent to understand, like, to help you understand what I mean by receipts. In CRO, you don't really have tangibles. You don't really have something that says, hey, Mr. Client, I did this thing. Okay. If you have a contract that says I'm going to push 5 tests a month, if you don't have the ability to show what goes into those tests, it's too easy for them to just forget. So if you build 5 tests and you launch 1, but you didn't launch those 4 because VP of marketing or VP of blah, 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 comes in and tells you that you can, but you put in all the work. You made the pizza, like, you built it. Just because you didn't ship it doesn't discount the time that you put in. So the real issues with the busy work is you spend so much time doing all this stuff that means nothing, and it is not really like billable time. It doesn't really move the needle. It doesn't do anything. You hate it, they hate it. The client looks at you and they're like, why am I paying you to move things on a slide deck? And it just doesn't make any sense. So what do? Is you build in automations for all that stuff, right? Use AI to drive analysis. Like, you can analyze 150 or 200 videos in minutes, right? Instead of hours and hours of somebody just sitting there clicking and watching videos and saying, oh, okay, I guess this guy is upset or whatever. You can just analyze it and then come back and identify problems within those videos. You can automate your A/B testing. I know this is a contentious issue, right? But there's no reason why you can't use AI, actual AI, to build out a testing program that can use inference data to build out segmented tests. So you go through with your development team, you have a clean code database, and you say, here are the potential things that we're going to change. Use AI to spin those up, and then you can do easy stuff. Like, I know everyone always say, don't do button testing, don't do like all this other stuff, right? And the reason that you want to do that is because it's a waste of resources. But if those resources aren't wasted and you can do that automatically through infer data from the AI, then those matter, because then you can learn what, hey, maybe they do have a button preference test. And it's, if you're actually being paid to run tests, that's a complete waste of your time. But if you can have a system that just runs a split test across all these different variables that changes buttons and locations and little bullshit things, but then reports back to you micro conversions that you can then understand, hey, maybe we want to change this tone, and then from there you can infer. That's critical, but you don't want to do that with humans. Let the robots do that stuff. This is what I mean by busy work. Button tests are busy work, and it's just the, hey, I did a test, right? If you have the ability to run that, no problem. A big one, which I don't see people, well, David Manheim, shout out, 100% is, so let me not say anyone is, but predictive modeling in AI is massive. Like, this is the next wave. When people want to talk about personalization using AI and all this other whatever, this is what they mean. They mean, I know where you're coming from, and I know generally who you are based upon the interactions that you have given me, and not through cookies and not through fingerprinting and not through anything like that. Literally just through AI predictive model. It's going to be able to say, hey, you're Shawn, you have 10 cats because you use these words. Okay. It's obviously not that easy, but that's what it's going to be. So you're going to be able to then create true personalized information. You're going to say, hey, like, this is irrelevant to you. Let's just remove it. Let's just not show you this bland or this blade of a website, because it doesn't matter to you, and it's just going to cause friction. Or you are the type of person that like long form content, so we're going to show you these 6 different blades, right? That's predictive modeling, and that's something that you can easily set up with AI with the right training data. But you have to train, and you have to have somebody willing to sit there and do the boring work. You have to have somebody sit there and say, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, forever. And I mean, like, months. That good, that good. And yeah, it sucks. Nothing you're going to do about it. You can do auto training, but it's nowhere near as good as somebody that actually understands this stuff and can train its own models, right? The reason nobody's doing this is because it's boring and it sucks. And nobody wants to sit there and say, hey, this is a better model versus this. And then you start judging people based upon their words. Yeah, like, but if you did it, $1 billion. Okay. Again, personalization, same thing, just the opposite side. So you have predictive modeling that tells you, hey, you've used these words on Facebook and you are this person, or blah, 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 or you bought the data from your ISP, and now you can have ICPs that can then send in data to your website so that you actually have like a payload of each individual person that comes in. That's where your testing is going, by the way. Like, each individual person will be identified from where they've come in, and there'll be predictive modeling. So like, server-side testing probably doesn't even need to be there, because you'll be able to actually identify without identifying. So you'll be able to say, 41-year-old male, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They'll identify me just from very few inputs. So you don't even have to worry about being tracked with like server-side, just by like what you say and then clicking on a link. And then more than likely, like, the actual href, like the actual text of that link, will change. And then depending on the one that you click on, we'll give it enough to know what you are. So it's coming. And then that's what this is. It's real-time adjustments. So when you click on something on Facebook, that has already been changed depending upon where you entered from. And then that href and that data will then send you to a website. And that website takes that and they say, oh, you like cats. Cool. Let's get rid of this dog info because it's probably not good for you. Or You hate cats. Let me only show you dog info. Obviously not that easy, but it's a pretty good example. Okay. So you look at like, what can I use AI for in CRO? Like, what can't you? You just have to figure out what are your problems and where are your weak points and what are the things that you don't want to do. And I can't stress this more than anything else. Like, if you take nothing away from this other than identify the stuff that you don't want to do, because that's the stuff that's going to make you money, because that's the stuff you have to do. Like, you have to do billing. You have to do sales outreach. You have to do prospecting. You have to do all the shit that sucks. And if you aren't doing that, you have to, then there's an internal conflict. Get rid of it. Get robots to do it. Get rid of the busy work. You're Gucci, right? The whole goal of this. So I was at an agency. Y'all probably know where it was. When I got there, they were copying and pasting into Google Slides. It was interesting. When I left, nobody makes slide decks, right? Like, they're light years ahead of where they were. What does that mean in real world time, right? Who cares? Why do you give a shit? You give a shit because it's $2.7 million over a year that you can then turn into having actual fun. If you got to bill your clients $2.7 million a year for admin work, you got to justify that somewhere. There has to be something. Because if I'm on the other end of this and I'm Automate to Win and I hired an agency and I'm like, all right, increase my conversion, and then I give you all this money, and maybe you are making moves or whatever it is, I'm still looking at this like, yo, what are we doing? Like, I'm asking for receipts, and those receipts were just not there. It was just chaos. So 2 years in, struggled, built the system. What does that do? It allows you to ideate experiments. Okay, it's all built on Airtable. You can build it on anything. It doesn't matter. The layers don't matter. Okay, tools don't matter. The tool is the tool you use. So anyone that's going to come in and say you need this tool or that tool or this or bullshit, they probably get paid by that tool. Doesn't matter. You can do this all free. I will guarantee you can do this for free, no problem. But anyways, what this allows you to do is it allows you to real-time ideate on your experiments. So at anytime, anyone in the company can then come and build out an idea from an experiment. They have an observation and they can say, hey, I have observed this on the website and I need to build this. Great, cool. Build out a hypo, build out a problem statement. Help them learn what a hypo and a problem statement are. All right. Automated prio. Everyone has a prio. If you don't have a prioritization model and you're running A/B test, you should not do that. So you have to have a way to determine what ideas are good and what ideas are bad. If you have a hierarchy inside of your business, then people start putting like their self-worth into their ideas. And if you have a CEO or a CFO or somebody that's coming in and presenting their idea, then it's going to have a level that you're going to have a power struggle. So you build a system, make the system the bad guy. And the system just says, here's your parameters. And guys, it doesn't matter what the parameters are. Your model is wrong. My model is wrong. All models are wrong. Doesn't matter. It's your model. It's just, this is not the way, our way. And as long as you dial into that and you look at it and you say, I'm not saying that this is the right way. This is just the way we're doing it. And then you can kind of shift it. And then you start looking at it and being like, all right, we're just going to optimize ourselves because we're all optimizers, right? That's what you in CRO claim to be. You optimize. So like, eat your own dog food and optimize your processes. Look at this and say, if I'm not prioritizing my experiments, then what am I actually doing? What am I working on? How do I know how am I moving the needle? Where are my receipts? You don't have it. Okay. So simple yes or no question. Again, remove restrictions to allow more people to ideate. The more you do that, the higher level of data that you're going to be able to get in. And yeah, of course, you're going to have garbage ideas, but that's why you have the automated process, because then you sift by whatever. If it's a 20-point scale, only give me 16 and above. So you're only dealing with things that you have built guardrails around. And anyone that wants to come to you and says, hey, I have the dopest idea in the world and we're going to remove the homepage, All right, cool. Put it in the system. System comes back. Hey, that's a 2 out of 20. Sorry, homie. Like, I got a whole bunch of other ones that are like 18s and 19s and their business processes. And yeah, I love that idea. It's super dope, but system's the bad guy. Sorry. You know, you're not the bad guy in that situation. The system is. It's great. Yeah, you built the system, but still. So again, now you're jumping into the real meat of it, and that's the creation of relevant assets. This is the time sink. You're creating decks, you're creating Google Sheets, you're creating Google Docs, you're creating and emails and all this other stuff. It's a dog and pony show to show what you're actually doing. You're saying, hey, I'm working over here. All right, back off. I'm doing stuff. Here's a pretty presentation. Right? Automate it all the way. Yeah, you need to have it. Yes, they need, it's a dance that you're doing. They need to see it. You need to create it. They don't need to know that an automated system created it, but you also don't need to waste your time with this stuff. Just have an agent build it, send it to them. You're still doing the dance and you're still singing for your supper and you're still deferring to them as the client. You're doing all the psychological stuff you need to, but you don't have to do the work. Like, why? All right. And then distribution of tasks. Again, you are not solo in anything that you're doing in CRO. I don't care where you are. It doesn't matter if you're a designer, a developer, a strategist, a PM, an assistant, an analyst, an AE, sales. Every single thing you do has an input and an output from a different person. Every single person, every single one of you. You're not alone. So your process doesn't matter. Like, you're not the main character. Like, get out of your own way. Understand that someone else is going to hand you something. And if you're an asshole, they're not going to help you. And they're just going to hand you the least thing that you can use because they have to, and that's their job. And they're going to give it to you. And then you have to take that and say, all right, well, garbage in, garbage out. And you're going to give it to the next guy. And you're going to, no. Your process is everyone's process. Everyone has to get on board and say, hey, we're running a marathon here, and we all have our own steps. And if I do the absolute best I can and I hand it to Johnny, the developer, and he sees that I put my soul and my heart into this, he's going to look at that and be like, well, I'm not going to let him down. Like, this dude's coming at me like forever. And then if you identify the people that take the best inputs and look at it and then just get it and send it to the next guy, if you're recording these things, if you have these things on paper, you get rid of that, or you train that, and you say, no, this person, this person, this person are all handing you 10 out of 10. This person is handing in 5 out of 10. Fix it, because everyone else around you is lowered down because of that. Can't soar with eagles, surrounded by turkeys. Okay, so you get into the distribution of tasks. Make sure everybody knows what they're doing. Make sure that the system gives you your baton so you get it and start it, and then you do the best you can to hand it to the next person. Them doing it is enough for the system to report to the next guy. Okay, the thing that's critical here is once you all get on board with this whole thing, it's great and it's love and it's holly lollipops and rainbows until the wheels hit the ground and you actually have to do stuff. You actually have to go into Asana and ClickUp or Notion or any of these other garbage programs that are a pain in the ass, and you have to click the thing that says I did the thing, and then the other thing, and then somebody else has to come in and say, oh, he did the thing. Oh, okay, let me make sure No. All of this is connected. When you do a thing, that thing being done is enough for the next person to be notified. All of these platforms have the ability to notify the next person in the line. You can waterfall all this stuff. So work on work, being able to go into a task system and say, hey, I did a thing, Mr. No. That is busy work. You don't need to do it. And you're wasting time because you're still billing the client for that. Even if you're just selling time, even if you're just saying, hey, you've got 50 hours, you're still deducting that time from that. And you have no receipts for that. You have no tangibles for that. You have nothing but lollipops and rainbows to tell to your client, hey, we moved a bunch of buttons and clicked a bunch of things in ClickUp to let everyone else know that we did a thing. Give me $500. I mean, how are you having that conversation? How are you even selling that, right? So look at this math. It's just pretty simple. You have $300 in billable hours, $500, $900, whatever it is, 4.3 hours average savings time, 2083 was the amount of average tests run over the year. Extrapolate that out, and you have $2.7 million. Pretty easy, right? Just think about that. Like, how much time are you spending creating slide decks? How much time are you spending in ClickUp or in Asana or anywhere, just telling other people that you did a thing? How stupid is it that you have to go into a system to tell someone else that you did a thing after you already did a thing? Shouldn't just doing the thing be enough to let other people know that the thing is done, right? All of this is possible. All of this isn't really even hard. You just need someone to understand how to identify processes, break them all out, and automate them. Once you have that, you're off to the races. Okay. So great, everyone's happy. We're saying I'm gonna automate everything. I'm gonna get rid of all of my PMs. This is gonna be amazing. The robots are gonna take over the world. No, calm down. It's not lollipops and rainbows. Okay. You're going to have a lot of problems. You're going to have a lot of issues when you just start running into something and being like, automate. I'm going to automate. All right. You have to, first of all, identify what you're even looking at. You have to identify what can I do and how can I do it. And then there's a people cost. There's a lot of stuff that you have to think about. Okay. First of all, data quality, garbage in, garbage out. If you're not cleaning what you're sending into the AI, it doesn't care. It's a table saw, it's a drill press. It doesn't care if it's wood or your finger. It's just going to churn through it. All right. So if you have, let's say, bad data in GA and you break that out and use AI and LLM to do NLP segmentation, lookalikes, all the dope stuff that you learned how to do, yay, and it's garbage, okay, what are you going to do from that? You're making moves on garbage data. Great, you have the coolest tools on the planet. You can use them to analyze the awesomest things. But for whatever reason, it's telling you that women 51 to 85 have converted higher. So now the LLM is going and trying to find lookalikes and building data off some garbage, and you sell whatever bombs, right? So you have to understand what are the outputs and what are the inputs, because a lot of times you're not going to understand the mechanism. Okay. A lot of these things are going to be black boxes to you, and that's fine. You don't have to understand. You can geek out and you can go learn them. But more than likely, the tools that you use are going to be a black box. And if you just blindly trust them and you don't have a way to verify those outputs, yeah, good luck. Okay. I get into trouble. I have a really, really good friend of mine that tells me all the time, I say things are easy a lot, and I get it. But the thing is, it's easy for me because I've been doing this for 20 years and I've been talking to LLMs like directly for like 7 months every single day. It's simple, but it's not easy. Like in theory, it's simple. Like you just do a thing, right? Like farming is simple. You plant the thing, you water it, and you get tomatoes. Not easy. Very not easy. Like tell a farmer it's easy, see what happens, right? This is the same thing. Systems are very simple. Like all of this stuff is super simple. You just identify manual processes, get rid of anything that doesn't have to have a human, automate all these things, no code, low code, all this stuff. Sounds great at a 10,000-foot level until you start really looking at it and you start understanding that there's hidden costs. There's a hidden cost to absolutely everything that you do. There's opportunity cost. There's a lot of psychological stuff that goes into this. Like when I was just a systems engineer and I graduated and I came in and I bowled my way through things, very different than you go and get MBA in organizational leadership and start dialing into psychology and realizing, oh, yeah, your systems don't matter. You don't build the system for you. You build the system through you, right? So if you're going to dial into like how to use AI and you're going to say, this is the way, definitely not going to win. Other people are going to look at you and not defer to you because who are you? It just doesn't matter. You have to build a system that allows everyone to put input, give locus of control to them, because if you don't, you're just going to build this super complex system that nobody uses and it just doesn't matter, right? So keep it simple and make sure that you're getting all the inputs from the people that are using this stuff. Because if you don't, who cares? Honestly, if you're building it, you're probably not using it. And once you're done with it, your success state is other people using it and you're off to the next thing. So why do you really care at the end of the day? Like you're just making the best thing for the people that use it. So get out of your own way, get out of your own head, right? If you're building, understand that it's not for you. Like, right? Again, this is something that's super critical to me, is you will lose the humanness in your CRO. Okay. If you know Shiva, he loves best practices and he talks about it all the time. You can go to crobestpractices.com, check out his website. But I don't think best practices necessarily are the best thing. The AI, this is going to be best practice. This is what you're going to get. You're not going to get anything that is going to have high level cognitive thought. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get what everyone else wrote before. You're going to get everything that everyone has ever said before about the thing, but you don't move forward by looking backwards. It doesn't matter what they did before. It only matters here. So if you're just relying on this to do all the things that you would need that a human does now, probably a misstep. Identify what you can do and remove all the things that you don't need. Give it to the AI. All the things that need that massage, that still need that human. Until we get to that generative AI, just don't automate things just because you don't want to do them. Don't take that the wrong way of saying busy work is to be automated because you don't want to do it. Like if you're looking at what CRO actually is and like user testing and all like talking to humans and you don't want to do that, don't do CRO. Like do something else. But like don't try to automate that away because you don't like doing it. You're just doing the wrong thing. Okay. Identify manual tasks that you can automate. Get rid of those. That leaves you to do the high level tasks that CRO needs, strategy and analysis and all this stuff. Right. Another thing, PII and ethics. Unless you're running your own LLM, unless you're running your own trained thing, which I doubt you are. If you're listening to me right now, you probably aren't. Everything that you sent in is used as training data for the next people, including PII. Okay, like Zoom just got into a huge thing because Zoom was like, hey, if you use us, everything you say on Zoom is going to use to be trained to AI. If you're a doctor, if you're a psychiatrist, doesn't matter. It's scrubbed PII, but I mean, come on. Right? So there's a huge ethical and moral and privacy concern when it comes to this stuff. And again, you're probably not going to understand what it is. You're probably only going to say, I'm just going to send this in and it's a black box. So if you don't understand the mechanism, you have to have the ability to look at the output and verify that that output is not identifiable as inputs for you. So you have to do the work to scrub the data that you're sending in. So that way you never have the possibility of sending in anything that can personally identify someone or like ethically or morally go against whatever boundaries that you have. NDAs that really matter and stuff like this here. So if you're using Claude or OpenAI or Bard, this is all public. If you're using Midjourney, this is all public. So if you're creating like images in Midjourney and you're using them for blog posts and you're not saying that you're using Midjourney to create them, to me is just a little disingenuous. And if your client finds out about that, I don't know if it matters at the end of the day. Like I don't, no pejorative statements for me. I'm not going to judge the hustle, but I think you should probably I would be more honest and straightforward in saying, hey, I'm using AI to create this stuff, just so that there is no ethical and moral implications. Okay. There's a lot of people out there right now that are using like garbage content creation softwares. I'm building one right now and it's taking me forever because I'm only allowing just God tier prompts. And if you don't know what God tier is, go take the prompt course. But I'm only using these and I'm using the system itself to run in and find out how do I actually build out LinkedIn posts that can be edited by a human that don't need more editing time than it would take to actually write the post. Okay. So it's forever. I have to actually talk with AI and figure out how do I give this to you and learn what are all of the modifications, qualifications, and restrictions that you have that I can actually build out a reliable 99 to 100% output that you can verify from inputs. Because I don't know the mechanism, I can't control it, right? So you just have to make sure that you're scrubbing your inputs on all points. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's user testing or if it's PDFs of tests or whatever it is that you're feeding in, know that this is all public data. And when I mean public data, I mean fully public, meaning that whatever you send in, I immediately then on the next update will be able to query as an input. as an output from the mechanism. Okay. So if you send in whatever, it doesn't matter, like, salary data, and you want to identify wage gap. Very great. Good thing to do. You've now just given the AI data to train on to bias it. Okay. So you've just given it a fact that it learns that men make more than women. Oops. So be careful. Unpredictable costs. Again, you don't know what's going to happen. So if you just connect AI and you're like, willy-nilly, let's just start an agent, and you do auto GPT and you're like, hey, go make me money. All of a sudden you get a $50,000 or $60,000 bill from all these different AIs because you've linked into their enterprise, because you've gotten rate limited. It happens. It just happens. You have to understand, what am I paying for? What am I buying? And where am I getting to a point? Like, you sign up for AWS, you're like, all right, dope, I got a server. Nope. Sign up for Azure, I got a server. Nope. So OpenAI, great, I pay $8 a month. Nope. All of these things have cost. Every single time you ping them, cost. Every single time you want to train, cost. It all adds up. Every zap you run, cost. Everything. So there's a lot of hidden hands here that you have to understand and look at and say, hey, do I really need this? How much am I saving by this? Yeah, maybe. And maybe it's not a money thing, but maybe it's a quality of life thing. Yeah, fine. Maybe the human could do this within the same amount of time, but their quality of life is better. So you take the decision. You say, no, it's worth this cost. Okay. But it's not free. It's never free. There's a time cost. There's a development cost. There's always a cost. There may not be a monetary cost. Always a cost. And often there's a monetary cost. Okay. So that's about it. I'm going to show you some cool stuff that I built for you. This is me. You can contact me, Shawn@automatetoWin.com, LinkedIn.com/ElmStreetShawn. If there's any questions, anything, let me know. This is for you. Okay. AutomateToWin.com/A/B testing system. This is what I was telling you about. So you're going to be able to go here. It's a zip file. Download that zip file, unzip it into a new folder. It's going to be a form, it's going to be a spreadsheet, and it's going to be some JavaScript. Now, there's a video, there's everything, that instructions for you. So what this is going to do is it's going to allow you in a Google form to ask yes or no questions, auto prioritize, auto create your assets, and if you have an OpenAI key, it's going to allow you to go in and verify your problem statement against your hypo. So you'll be able to create a problem statement and a hypo in this form. It's going to show up in your sheet. You're going to click a button. It's going to say AI. You're going to go in. It's going to say your problem statement and your hypo are not aligned. It's going to rewrite both of them, and it's going to give it back to you. And it's going to say, this is a problem-based hypo. It's going to be null-based, and it's going to help you understand, even if you don't understand what a hypo is. Here you go. This is what a hypo is. So yeah, check it out. Let me know. That's it for me.
Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Fiona. There's about 5 minutes maybe if people have questions. So please put them in the comments and we should see them. One more surprise, a gift for people who join us live and stay right until the end. If there's anyone on this call who's new in the industry and who'd like to learn more about this, and who would like to learn how to properly prompt and talk to LLMs, Shawn, you didn't talk about that, but Shawn has a great course. I've looked at it and it's really a very good resource, and we'll sponsor that. So you send me an email on LinkedIn, connect with me, send me a mail and tell me why you need to be receiving that, and happy to give it to a few people. But you've got to be new in the business. You've got to be up and coming. I'd like to support you. And then, Shawn, I have one question for you, and this might be the last one, unless there are people who have other questions. You spoke about privacy. I think this is a real issue. And there's a, by the way, this is one of the events that's coming up in a few weeks' time. We're speaking to two specialists about this, a lawyer and somebody who's very close to this. It's one of those things that I keep on saying to people in the industry, it's like, GA4 or SQL or BigQuery or whatever it is, that, your knowledge of GDPR and privacy, it's part of your toolkit. You cannot be in this industry and you cannot work with this data if you don't understand, the details behind it. It's not sexy, but it's something we really need to talk about a lot more. Shawn, so are you able to give us like a few tips, practical tips, when we plug things into Chat GPT or Claude or whatever? You gave us the warning.
Yeah.
But how do we avoid that? What are your best tips, practical
Well,
tips?
it depends on where you're. So first of all, here's what I would do. The first thing is use all three inputs that you have. Okay. The most important thing is you have Claude.ai, Bard.google.com, Chat.openai.com. Those three. They're all trained a little bit different. So it's like if you were like reading three different newspapers and you got the truth is going to be somewhere in the middle of all of those. They all have modifiers, qualifiers, and different things that you can use with different guardrails to get different outputs. Okay. So what you're going to be able to do, for instance, let's say you want to chunk data, use Bard, because Bard has a seed parameter and it's going to allow you to say seed equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's going to use the same generative prompt for that. So what it's going to allow you to do is say, no matter what you return for the rest of this conversation, here is the seed. Don't roll another AI prompt. Okay. You just use the same one. And you can do that forever. So you can just create an agent number that it doesn't matter. And here is your thing. And then you can create different ones and you can actually compare them with each other. So that's Bard. In Claude and in GPT, they don't have a seed because they actually don't use a random number generator. They use natural language processing and chunking within vectorizing and embedding. So it's a little bit different. But what you can do with those is you have tonal shifts. So if you're being nice to Claude and you're being nice to GPT, stop it. Every time you're being conversational with them, you remove guardrails from the restraints that they have. Okay. So let's say they have the ability to wander like 0 to 1. And then within that, you have a variability depending upon as you've given them the inputs. If you're finding that it's wandering a lot, it's because you're probably being conversational. You're like, hey, tell me this. Oh, good job. Whatever, right? You're being a human. This thing isn't a human. Like you're talking to the Pythagorean theorem. All right. As much as you're anthropomorphizing this thing and you're saying there's something on the other end of it, it's not. It's a mirror. It's literally the slope of a line, and you're solving for mx or b. Like you have y, mx is the mechanism, and you're getting b. Okay, that's it. So you have to just give it instructions, just the facts. Pretend you're in the 60s Dragnet show, just the facts, no superlatives, no wrappers, no nothing. And the way you do that is use the system itself to have it remove you. Okay. So give it a prompt and then come back and use itself to learn how to prompt. If that doesn't make sense, come to Automate to Win, take the prompt.
How do you decide whether you should be using ChatGPT, Claude, Bard, Bing?
You should use all three of them for everyone, every single one. Whatever you're doing, it does not matter what it is. If you're running a prompt through Claude, you run a prompt through Bard and through GPT. You just have to, because what's going to happen is you're going to become an Apple fanboy or an Android fanboy, and that's dangerous. So go and get diversified opinions. You have the ability. You have the ability to get multiple opinions from unlimited systems now, basically for free. So why would you not take the 30 seconds and run the same prompt through Claude, through Bard, and GPT, right? I'm building a system now that's called Gaia that will allow you to do that anyways, but all this stuff is free. Like you don't need tools. You don't need any of this stuff. You just sign up for the stuff, open tabs in your browser, take your prompt, run it through. None of it's sexy, none of it's like great, but you just don't need like expensive or fancy things to do this. Like if you're just a single person, you can do it now for free.
Shawn, Fiona, thanks very much. Everyone, thanks for joining us. Please follow us and join us for the next event.